positive pressure ventilation for accumulation of smoke. These smoke and heat vents do strange things. We haven't done a lot of research lately because our bigger, taller warehouses, it's all ESFR for everything. So in this case, we have the existing standard system. They're just going to include, bring the standard system back. That system, the design for that system does not include the smoke and heat vents. So we're asking that we kind of go back to what we used to do. That we have a fully sprinkled building that meets the NFPA criteria and the design standard didn't include those, that we omit the smoke and heat vents. The smoke and heat vent technology is still the 1968, 1974 was really the last design standard. We have a lot of problems with them. We have a lot of problems in new roofs. They leak, they do all sorts of things. So it's not a technology that's highly successful. We're working with our fire departments on roof access. If the smoke and heat vents don't open, the only way to open them is to go up on the roof at that point in time. We're really working to try not to go up on the roof anymore. We're going more with the ventilation, the new positive pressure fans that we have that are getting into service do a much better job of clearing the smoke in the event of fire. So those are the 3 variances on this particular project. I think they've all been granted many times. They're new to this commission, and a lot of them are really just because we're not using the more current technology that we would be doing if we were building a 1 million square foot warehouse that's 55 feet tall. These are K 16.8 heads. It's basically the same orifice size as the EFSR sprinklers. It's just a different design standard. This we're doing 2,000 square foot, so it has a lot more sprinklers. The ESFR would be limited to 10 or 12 heads. Something we're working on trying to figure out now that we have the 3 sprinkler technologies and everything is a DSFR anymore. How we address that going further in the international codes.
How long is the access road?
Yeah.
There's a thing there.
Trying to catch up with my hearing was trying to catch up with how fast you were talking. I wasn't able to do that.
When I get tired, I go back to Boston.
I was trying to catch up on that, but so how is the fire lane access? I didn't.
So that if you look at that, there's the floor plans. It's the CTI Bristol Edition .pdf, and on the 2nd or 3rd page, the A100 sheet. It's a very long access road. And you can see that it has the parking there.
So how long is the access road? Does it get us around the building? And then you do have a turnaround in it, correct? A hammerhead to it?
So on the new drive that they're putting in, on the new curb cut on the west side of the building, is a fully paved road. You see it's 50 foot wide. So technically the bump out is a little bit at the end is not long enough to totally comply with code, and they're actually using parking spaces there. But the fire department felt that was better than what they had, so they were comfortable with this access. On the other side, they took the gravel road that's around the existing building. That one, if you go to the Google Maps, that one has a turnaround. It doesn't show all the way on there. That's a gravel access road, and they've got an easement, and that's the dedicated fire department access road that was put in place for the first building of the building there to get it in that space. It does have the fire department turnaround at the end. So it's really just that one fire department turnaround on the west side of the building doesn't technically meet the requirements in the fire code, but they feel it's acceptable for their equipment and how they would access this site. Oh, how deep is it?
Yeah. See that one there? No, the one that just says, you don't see 150 feet. 3 miles is longer than 150 feet.
I attached the plans. It says it on the table and
Is it the open side yard? Is that?
so I've got the side yard again. It's on that third sheet of the plans. So the open side yard on the left side is the 50 feet that goes across the parking lot there, and that's measured to the property line. The other,
There's an open side yard at 750 feet. I didn't know which dimension that is.
that's the, that was for our perimeter calculations for the allowable area of the building. So to show that it's over the allowable area if we're not unlimited use, but only by 18%. So we're asking for the side yard exception for the 18% over the allowable area. This isn't that big of a building and it's only 20 feet tall. The drive then would be. It's approximately, I want to say 500 feet long, maybe 450 to 500. So that section of the wall, there, from where the new parking spaces are is 248 feet. Sorry, 298 feet. So it's 300 feet from where the drive turns into the parking lot. And then we've got an additional 100 and close to 200 feet by the time you get fully out to the road. So 500 feet. Again, the actual drive is wider than most. It's more than the 20-foot wide. We went to almost 30 feet on the drive.
And there's an area to turn around at the end of it.
And at the very end of the parking lot, they just have that little bump out. Now, in the original language of the model code, it would allow the fire department to approve their own access roads. We don't have that in the building code because we took that out. I think with the hydrant locations, and you see the existing parking, that you really have to turn around. So even though it's 500 feet to the street, they can get through the front, and where the entrance is for the fire department connection and the standpipe riser, that's on the front of the building.
Buildings out there. Sites.
What's that?
So there's a ton of manufacturing.
Yeah.
Buildings there. It all go to the dead end street. With the turnaround. Not sure the fire issues. Truck issues an issue.
That's a good question. This is the thing we're looking at, right? So we go 500 feet here, but they can still get around it through, back out. That we're looking at.
This is their fire lane. And then this is the one with the easement. You just turn around in the back. That's the next property. Oh, maybe, yeah, maybe they're taking that grass strip out. It still won't have a turn back. And there's parking, there's gonna be parking cars all along it too.
Yeah, that would be one, because
So,
we're trying to back a ladder truck out.
thankfully no.
First step. So
This is
are
a,
they willing to remove some of those parking spaces then? Is that what they were looking at trying to do?
no, because they said they didn't have to. So, I mean,
Who
that
said they?
the fire department was okay with the way that it is. It's one of their only paved access roads in the whole industrial park. And I think that they were comfortable with that. This is a relatively small building by scale to what we're used to doing. I mean, it's only a 90,000 square foot total building. So that they have the other access road on the other side on the other property. And then they have the front access for that. So from there, and this is Bristol, so from their fire department approach. And again, if you scale back on the industrial park, you see that I think they're used to fire department access being challenging. Because a lot of that's just old enough that,
I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're trying to not make it challenging.
right, and I think but what they did agree to pave the strip to have it there. And they felt that this wasn't a ladder truck access in the back. They would use the other road for that because it's further away from the building. With less cars and stuff in the way.
It's,
Correct.
I understand that you can say all day long, hey, I'm gonna use the west
I'm
side,
not saying all day long.
but.
This is the fire department.
Not that way.
Yeah, the fire department looked at it, reviewed it, and met with the owner, and
Oh, that's not.
sometimes so I mean,
I
they
get it.
have to put in writing. If that's not always.
Emergency cross access agreement. Is that a?
What?
The emergency cross access agreement. Plan, that's the hash mark where they're using the.
Correct.
Is that in writing? Is that
Yes.
legal
Oh,
document?
yeah, that's filed with it's been filed with the county assessor's office.
Or it's gravel.
Yeah, and they bring semi trucks.
Can't put a date at the entrance.
No. It's gravel that's been pounded into better concrete probably for the semi tractor trailer traffic back there. So again, and like I think if you're on the Google Earth and that's what you're looking at, the access that they've had before, they didn't have a secondary drive into the parking lot, so they've expanded that to make that drive there and to connect it all through. So they made improvements, and if the fire department got the easement on the other side.
Okay, so, yeah, on Google Maps, it shows a grass strip. They've taken that out.
Yeah.
So it's continuous all the way through.
Yes.
Here.
And their riser room and all that is actually on the east side of the building. Fire department connection. over closer to where those semis are parked up to the building.
Good.
Yeah, but I'm on C.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't you leave?
As local said that they're okay with it, they can deal with it at the same time.
And you can figure out that you could put a handicap in there. This cul-de-sac's pretty big, but they lose a couple of those parking spaces.
So C's the only thing holding you back is a commitment from the local fire department.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with A and
If
B.
you could approve A and B and table C, if that's what's stopping them from moving forward and review. I can talk to them again and see if they would be willing to put something in writing.
I would go to
And
approve A and
I'm
B.
not saying that they approve it, but they've reviewed it.
Correct.
and are-
We have something on that. So, yeah, I would go to approve A and B as submitted, table C.
Second those.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Chris,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Height,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Palomino,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Zane.
Yes.
Like the design variances that they don't want to. Okay, thank you.
That's up to you guys. I'm trying. Go to 12:30, or you guys are to take a lunch, cook your lunch and come back.
I need a break right now.
I'd say we can take a break now and then knock a few more out, or we can go to lunch now and come back.
I'd say lunch now and lunch back. Because inevitably the next one will be an hour. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Still 1 o'clock.
Can we start with lunch?
Yes.
What time do you want to start back up?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
Yes. Thank you.
Always know shit.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. We're gonna get started again. Please everybody have a seat.
Yeah, a lot of those people.
We'll be starting with 24-236. Yep.
Request is to cap off an existing water hookup with a fire suppression system. Is currently.
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Jeffrey Jeeks. Our office is located at 450 East 96th Street in Indianapolis. We represent the applicant Lone Star Equities, Inc. They're out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they own the property at 2519 Albany Street here in Beech Grove, Indiana. We're here because this is a very old property, and I want to emphasize that. It has a defunct, inoperable fire suppression sprinkler in it that has been inoperable for, as best we can tell, decades. We bought the building in 2011, and this application is the result of us wanting to cap off the risers in the sprinkler system as it's been dismantled over the years, and the local water company said, hold on, you can't do that. You got a sprinkler system in there. And so we're here today to ask this body to give us either a variance so that we don't have to have a sprinkler system in this part of the building, or make a finding, a separate finding, excuse me, that the code doesn't apply because the affected area is under 5,000 square feet. The code calls for an exception of requiring a sprinkler if the site is under 5,000 square feet or 4,760 square feet. This is a little Mexican restaurant at the end cap of a large 30,000 square foot retail center. It's located on a major thoroughfare, Troy Avenue in Beech Grove. That's at a signalized corner. There's a little gas station and C-store on the corner of the property, and then this big inline strip center behind it, anchored by Family Dollar. And the part of the property in question is an end cap Mexican restaurant. And we think that historically, this was a grocery store that actually occupied quite a bit more of the center. And that as the years went by, the center was demised, et cetera. And this is just a little Mexican restaurant at the end of it. So we've asked for this body to consider a variance, several issues. Number one, public safety, health and safety. There's an existing health and safety problem with a leaking system that's already out there. It's corroded. You can see that in our photographs in Exhibit D. It's severely corroded and rusted out, and there's water leaking in the restaurant. So it's already a hazard to everybody that's in there. And we think that by capping it off, we can eliminate an existing hazard. Also, we already have a fire suppression system. It's a very modern grill and kitchen area. That's also depicted in the photograph. So we do have fire suppression above the grill, stainless steel behind the wall, et cetera. So we've got those things. There's also a fire hydrant right in front of the building. Literally, we've got a photograph of that. So we got fire department access to a hydrant right in front of the building on Troy Avenue. We also have access, circular access paved all the way around the strip center with multiple points of entry. From Troy Avenue was sort of what you call it, the frontage of the strip center. There's 3 access points, very easy to get into a very large parking lot. On the east end, there's 3 existing entry points, and then there's paved parking behind the building and to the west end where this affected unit is. So you could literally have fire department access on 3 sides of the affected unit that we're talking about. You could have trucks on 3 sides of the site. So we got a lot of mitigating circumstances. There's also a firewall, not exactly where this is, but we think where the grocery store ended and now Family Dollar starts, there is a firewall there in the building. So that's further mitigation of what we're talking about. We've also submitted that there's a hardship to replace this. We've submitted bids from Brown. It's $142,500 for a replacement system. To cap it off, it's only $3,700. This particular rental unit only rents for $2,100 a month. So the balance of cost benefit is, it would ruin the site from a financial standpoint. So that cost is exceptional, and we'd ask that this commission consider that as part of our application. Again, I think that there's two theories that you can make a decision on today, and we have to answer questions. One is that a variance is appropriate. Number two, a variance doesn't even apply because we're under the 5,000. And I think the most important exhibit, I'm going to end with this, is Exhibit H. At the end of our materials, it's the affidavit of Mark Bren. He's the compliance officer there in the city of Beech Grove. He's in support of our application here today. And he has a long history and knowledge of the building and what's going on there. And he was very helpful in us trying to understand what was going on, because, you know, this system's been inoperable for decades, literally. It's never been cited as a problem previously. And we thought, you know, my client had no reason to believe that there was a problem with the system. So it's never been cited. It's passed other inspections. And Mr. Wren, compliance officer, City of Beech Grove, in Exhibit H, is further in support of our application today. Happy to answer questions. Thank you.
So you all purchased it in
2011, that's correct.
and when was the last annual test done on the sprinkler system? Or is it ever, you know?
Never, not within the time that we've ever owned it. And we think it's been probably 30 years since it ever operated at all. That's our best guess. We don't really have a specific instance of when a test was actually run on it. We think it's been dismantled in pieces over the years by prior owners. Well, there's been occupants, I think, consistently over the years, but we just found out that this was a problem, a variance problem, and we went to try to cap off this because of the leaks, and the water department wanted us to, they didn't want to do it because they're like, well, you got a sprinkler, we can't cut the water off to the sprinkler, even though it's not operable, it's not functional at this time.
So where's it? You said it has leaks.
Yeah, it's there in the back of the building. You can see the riser coming out of the floor, so that leaks there at the joints. It's all rusted and corroded.
So it's got water in it?
There's some water in it somehow, but I don't know how. It hasn't been. I don't know where the last point of water is in the flow of things.
That's what I'm kind of wondering.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't remember. So did you guys have, did you have anybody come out, take a look at it to see? Have it tested and go, have them, whether that be any kind of fire protection company come through and say, yes, this is in horrible shape. You know, it would be this much money and these pipes need replaced, or these heads need replaced, or any of that done? Because obviously if there's water in the piping.
I think it's coming from the floor area, and I guess I would just refer to you to Exhibit F, as in Frank. Brown Sprinkler Corporation came out and gave us the estimate to repair it. They did walk the facility. They looked at the ceiling tiles where the system went up in. There were multiple areas without protection throughout the facility, more areas not protected than having protection. Multiple existing branch lines have been plugged off, with the appearance of piping being removed and abandoned. The minimal amount of protection that's remaining is primarily in the back of the house with the Mexican restaurant in the kitchen area. Protection's all above the ceiling for the majority.
Repair your leak, it looks like.
Cut it off.
No, that's a cap.
Oh, I think he's gonna repair the leak.
I think that, I thought it was to cap it off.
Hello, this is David Carpenter, Indianapolis Fire Department. We would like to oppose this, as you guys did July 6th of 2023. under variance number 2023-04-36. We feel that it is necessary to keep systems running and operating. If they haven't, that it should be back up and running. If they bought the building brand new and these were existing problems, I feel like that should have been part of the deal, is to get that fixed, or that they knew that it should get fixed. So we would oppose this and ask that you deny it as you did the one previous to this one.
Dave, what was the number on that again? The one from July?
23-04-36.
Thank you.
You said, what's your,
Already closed it now. Brown sprinklers. Out in here.
Yeah, and there was a denial back at that time. My client presented pro se and had never presented anything like this, and was lacking a lot of the evidence that we presented today,
Okay.
particularly just as, where's the fire hydrants located? What's the access? Is this a one-story building? You know, what kind of thing are we dealing with? And there was no expert testimony from the city of Oaks Grove either.
Reconnected.
Thank you.
This one 2-inch main drain. And hangers.
And the quote is to
Now, he does say up here there's other deficiencies, okay?
the cap cost.
But this is
Yeah.
the largest.
Exhibit B.
the riser, no water will be introduced around the. So it's not saying, I don't know if the system will leak.
I mean, there's two things I look at when I'm seated in a restaurant. I look for the exits and I look up, make sure the sprinklers are there. Now, should I question whether they work when I go to a place to eat now? Yeah, in my mind. I mean, that's safety. Give me,
It's locked by drop heads in it too.
do I?
The heads, if they exist, they're being blocked by the drop ceiling.
Yeah, Mr. Jinks, may I speak on behalf of Lone Star Equities?
Yes, that's to the commission. Is that fine? So,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm Jill Huber. I'm representative. Mr. Jinks is also representing Lone Star Equities. I just want to clarify that the sprinkler piping and sprinkler heads are not there. They were removed years ago. We just have the rusty riser in the back part of the Mexican restaurant, which still does have water fed to it from citizens, that has developed a leak from the valve. Yes, Brown could take it apart, put in a new valve, but as the condition of it, no guarantee it's not going to have another leak or another problem. But in addition to that, there's nothing else to turn back on for a sprinkler system. There are no heads above the drop ceiling. There is no piping up there. So there's nothing to service, turn on, have inspected. That's where we were at with that. So in order to be replaced would be $142,500 for something that we're collecting a couple $1,000s a month on. And just for this area that the Mexican restaurant occupies.
One other response on that, the comment from the fire department, we didn't buy this new. This building is decades old. We bought it in 11.
Was the fire system working in 11 when the owner purchased the building?
My representation is no, but I also defer to Ms. Heber, who's shaking her head no. There was no system in operation at that time. We didn't dismantle it. We're just coming to the party late saying, wait a second, we wanted to cap this off, and now we.
Was it in the same use as it is now when you purchased it?
The same use that.
Like, was it used as a restaurant?
There was a Chinese restaurant there. I'm sorry. Yes.
It was the same use?
Restaurant.
Chinese restaurant.
Chinese,
Okay.
I have a question. Do we know if the rest of the strip center, like the Family Dollar, is still open? Are they still connected to this sprinkler system? Is it operational, or is it just the Mexican restaurant?
Just the Mexican restaurant, is my understanding, and Jill, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the only part that would require the use of a restaurant. If it's over 5,000 square feet, requires the sprinkler system. The rest of the building has other traditional retailers in it that don't require sprinkler.
But was that, so my question, was the whole building sprinkler at one time and then they
they've dismantled the sprinkler system.
I'm gonna ask them here too. Yeah, for that. I was gonna say,
I have a couple more. So was the system there initially, was it dismantled? You guys have only owned it since 2011, including her, is that correct? I mean, has she been with the company longer than that or since 2011 when you guys purchased?
I have been with this location since about 2015, I think it was, but from Brown Sprinklers inspection, that would have only gone to the Mexican restaurant area. There's the firewall that splits at Family Dollar. It definitely did not go from Family Dollar down to the rest.
And that could have been, I don't know that, bill, so I have no clue how that sprinkler system was set up or what's in there. When did the Mexican restaurant move in?
They have been there since June of 2018.
So I realize what you say about their square footage, but it's not just based on square footage. It's also based on their occupant load. So their occupant load, I mean, and I'm just taking the full square footage. I wouldn't take that into account, but with that square footage, you're looking at 317 people. Granted, I know there's probably 317 people there. Sure. But I'm sure that there's more than 100, which also requires a sprinkler system. So since they moved in 2018, I know that the fire department should have said, hey, it's 2018, your restaurant moving in here, you have over 100 occupants, you're an E2, you need that sprinkler system, it needs to be working.
Understood. Yeah, this is just our first.
I understand, but no, and I'm just explaining to you that they moved in 2018, you know, and the sprinkler system should be working. Because the occupant load is probably over 100, I would take it.
Well, the seating is 86 people. So I'm not sure how that's calculated. I understand there's.
And I would need to either have an architect do it or personnel, or you would give me the dimensions and I could figure out an occupant load of each area.
Yeah, there's a little site drawing at the very end of Exhibit D that has maybe the dimensions. I'm not trying to argue with them, just trying to be helpful.
No.
You know, so we're 140 foot deep and 34 wide. And that's page 20 of Exhibit D as in David. Better dispute that part of the code for sure.
In the document from Brown Sprinkler Corporation, they talk about the firewall between the Family Dollar and the vacant space. And they put it in parentheses every time. Is that to identify that they know the definition of a firewall and they're using that term deliberately, or?
Fire barrier.
Good. Sorry, who was that?
Yeah, sorry, David Carpenter. We'd want to know if it was a fire barrier, if it was an actual firewall. You know, we'd want documentation on what that actually is.
Just for the record, I visited the site myself and walked it. It's what I call a firewall. It's like a brick wall, maybe a foot or so wide, rising above the level of the ceiling, you know, the roof line, extending along that. I don't know if that means anything to engineers.
Well, firewall is a defined term in the building code with very specific requirements for fire barrier versus firewall versus fire partition. So all distinct terms with different meanings. So that's why I asked.
I can't seem to get to that page 20. The photographs, I can get down to 19, but I can't hit 20.
See mine?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. When I talk about square footage, so at 4760, so if you took that square footage, it's 4760. So it's either you're looking at over 100 people to be sprinkled or 5,000 square feet. But if you take that 4760, that's 317 people. You know, so I mean, and we could take some of that space out for some of this thing that are in there, but And that's based at 15 square feet per person, so.
And we've got two exits out the back, at least one out of the kitchen, another one for patrons and out of the front as well.
But those are requirements anyway.
Of course, no, we want to comply. That's why we're here. We want the building to be safe. We'd like an exception.
I mean,
This-
it's kind of like.
Yes.
I guess. Because, you know, you want to, so if you want to comply, we'd be like, hey, well, fix the sprinkler system, and then we comply. So what you're asking for is not comply.
Yes.
Just want to get that, just want to get that on the record. You got a variance, not. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Why I say they want to comply. If they don't really want to comply.
This is so that with this is a question of, the 5,000 square feet. We have the vacant space next to it with a proposed, support. So the 5,000 square feet, you have to include the vacant space because there's not a firewall.
There's not a wall there, really.
Yeah,
I
so.
mean, there's that separation.
So it's not even, we're not even at the 5,000, we're not even below the 5,000 feet technically for the fire area. Or if that's right.
You don't know what that wall is.
Yeah, so we're, I think, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think that this is, it's something that you bought when you bought the building is a uncompliant area. And, I mean, unless, I mean, I'm just not there. I think we can. I mean, you could table it and do some more research on the sprinklers and if that's a true firewall or whatever, but right now I'm not there that you can grant this variance.
So you can table and come back with more information. And I think the people in the room respond to deny the variance.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Let's see what else we can present. I appreciate that opportunity. So, is that your motion or my motion to table?
I'll make it. I'll make a motion to table.
Yeah. I'll second. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Cook? Yes. Mr. Chris?
Yeah.
Mr. Davidson?
Yeah.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Pettigrew?
Yes.
Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes. Gather some more information on that and find out where the fire walls or any other separation or fire barriers in there and look at dimensions and have someone actually give us what a true occupant load, occupant capacity of that space is as well. But even so, at 140 foot wall, it'd have to be rated.
The total potential occupancy, right? Because you could fit another row of tables in here.
Well, it's a
Easily
calculated.
get over. Yeah, the
We
calculator.
could do you could do a code calculated occupancy, right? Or we could cap it at 100 people like we've done in the past, but that would be a variance to cap it at 100.
And, you know, restaurant, so the restaurant's been there since 2018. I know, number of restaurants do well, and you got a wall like that, and you think about, well, it'd be kind of cool to have a party room, for conference room for you to come eat lunch and whatever, so it tends to grow.
I've seen that over the years. Businesses do really well and then they expand and there's a whole different set of issues. Yeah.
Or you put a canopy on.
All right, so, yeah, so we'll hear from you next one.
Second, 9 a.m. Is that right?
It will automatically carry to the agenda. Let me confirm. Yes, April 2nd.
Okay. Thank you,
And
everyone.
you'll be at the beginning of the meeting because we do table points first.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, next up, we have 24-1837, the farm multifamily building and garage design.
This variance is to allow a 1-inch gap to be located between the 2x4 wood top place, which is not permitted.
Ed Rensink, RTM Consultants. This does represent a condition in the field that was cited by the town of Zionsville. You've got a sketch, let's look at that. There's a It's a demising wall between units. It's a 1 hour fire partition. We've got a top plate that's 8 inches ripped down 2 by 10 apparently, with then a double wall stud below that. So the exception 7 to section 714.4.1.2 says that you can interrupt the rated ceiling membrane if you have a double top plate. So do accept that there is a 1 inch gap in the bottom layer of that top plate. So we're otherwise protecting all the penetrations of that fire stopping node that required per exception 7. This isn't a condition where it is a 1 hour wall. So we've got protection of the wall assembly itself, penetrations of the wall, as well as the any penetrations of the top plate condition. So we believe in this case it's protected in a way that the 1 inch gap won't be adverse. And at this point, there aren't any good remedies for this at this point, and it's a field condition. So, and the building is protected with an NFP 13R system, so we're requesting a variance for this condition. 1 inch. 1 inch gap.
Josh Ross, Town of Zionsville Fire Department. We've discussed this quite a bit leading up to this point. One of the other components that is shown in the diagram and the drawing is that there is fire blocking that will be inside of that stud cavity as well. It's double cavity, but it is going to be fully filled with fire block material, which is unfaced fiberglass insulation. So we acknowledge that. The one thing I would ask is that we not limit it to building A, because we have this condition and on the site they're referred to as building A, B, and C. But we do have this condition across all 3 buildings. So I'd ask that it's just not building A that's considered, that it's considered for the site.
That'd be great. We are getting.
Then we don't have to come back.
Yeah, we do have a lot of, and I'll say this too, we do have a lot of anomalous field conditions here that the town of Zionsville is very astutely catching. So, I mean, it's a very competent enforcement regime, and they're doing a very good job. So we're coming up with, I have a few more of these coming up where there's things in the field.
Make it sound bad and call it a regime.
I don't understand. They have such a great regime.
Just got it in your pocket.
It's not meant to be derogatory at all.
It's just, there always is an enforcement regime. It could be a loose one, it could be a tight one, it could be, I always use that term. So, but they're doing a very good job of inspection, and so we're trying to keep.
You're in favor.
I don't oppose.
Okay. And if I make a motion, it's for up to A, B, and C.
Say buildings A, B, and C.
Buildings A, B, and C.
Yeah. I filed this because it was cited in building A is a little ahead of the other ones in terms of.
It went to the head of the curve, doesn't it?
That's right. I appreciate that.
What's in that gap? Is that 2 sheets of drywall?
I'm talking about above that in the.
Interests.
Yeah, I see the wall board, I see the insulation.
Oh, no, I think it's just a gap.
It's just an air
But
gap.
we are filling up that cavity with insulation, so the insulation is going to be quite the way it's going to basically fill that entire space.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve A up to including B and C buildings. I worded that about right.
Oh,
I just.
then the application applies to A, B, and C.
Buildings A, B, and C.
All the residential.
Now, how does Zionsville permit the stuff? Is it 3, you have 3 different CDRs for the buildings, or is it 1 CDR for the whole project?
It's 1 CDR.
So what's my best wording right now?
Is it just those three buildings or is there more to?
Just those.
Okay.
You guys permit each building individually or one permit for the site?
Did, three permits.
They just need to be communicated. Mike.
Did the ministerial internal discussion.
To approve, including all buildings on the site.
Okay.
I made a motion to approve.
All buildings on site.
Okay.
That's it. That's not leaving a big window open. is it?
Well, I think it is. I would say all, because they're all under construction right now. So I would say all buildings under construction as of today. Because if they're gonna build another one, let's not make the same mistake.
Appreciate
Yeah.
That's a good- that's really popular.
Yeah.
there's.
And who's the contractor?
She'll say.
All buildings up to today.
All buildings under construction as of today. On the site.
There you
Yep. got it.
Yeah, it's intended to be a C.
Do we second?
There you go.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Critter,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Height,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Valerino,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zane.
Yes.
Next up, we have
Thank you very much.
240238 A and B USG miscellaneous renovation projects.
At this one, we don't have a problem with A, that is a request to allow a new second floor office area to have a maximum crowd distance of 250 feet, a little maximum 200. These are to see what's going to be. This request classified a fire suppression system for a thing that is adding the addition that is over 12,000 square feet.
Melissa Tupper, RTM Consultants. So that description isn't totally accurate. This is an existing building and they are creating a second floor office space within the footprint of the existing building. So we're not adding on to the building itself, but we're creating a second floor fire area within the existing building. Therefore, we need a variance because the existing building isn't fully sprinklered. We are going to sprinkler the second floor office area and the areas immediately below the second floor office area. Variances were granted back in 2014 that Ed actually got on this project to allow additions to the building and not require the existing building to be fully sprinklered. They went in and sprinklered areas where there was combustible storage and things like that, as well as the additions. But the hardship is going in and sprinkling the rest of this existing building for the small second floor office area addition.
Since we talked about, yeah, you get a variance or something, and then they come back later and they want an addition to the house. Now everybody's kind of screwed up there because now it's saying, oh, we want to do another one because we're adding on. We can't sprinkle that area either.
But we're not adding on to the
Yeah.
building.
I get
They're
it.
They're creating a second floor space within the existing building.
I get it. I'm just talking here about some of the other issues that come along with when you get a variance from required, because if you were fully sprinkled, it wouldn't be here. And then, yeah, I realize you're not adding to the footprint of the building, is that right?
That's correct. It's within the big open warehouse area. It's for one of the gypsum board lines for the office, for the staff of that line. So they can overlook the lower floor, and then they also can access the catwalks that access that line.
How do they access the catwalks now?
There are other stairs. They're just adding an office area for that particular line. There's another office area up there for a different line, but this is for I think, line 2. So there is an existing small office space in the catwalk area for a different line.
How big is,
How big is what?
how large is the structure? How many square feet is the structure?
The overall building?
Yeah. That got the variance in that sprinkler. I'm just wondering how large it actually was.
Give me 1 second. The existing building was, let's see. So the additions that were done in 2014 and the existing building are 270,000 square feet.
Just a hair over 12,000.
Yeah.
Then how much of it is sprinkler? And why was it? I mean, I guess I just have those questions. How much of it is sprinkler? Because you're not really telling us that either. You're just saying portions of the building are sprinkler. So we have a percentage or square footage?
So
Are
there
there
was
processes that require the sprinklers to be there and we omitted sprinklers in other areas because of dangerous processes or?
well, they manufacture gypsum board. So they sprinklered the areas where they had combustible storage within the existing building. And they sprinklered the additions they made at that time. Looks like maybe around 45,000 square feet. Oh, no, about 55,000 square feet of the building was sprinklered when those additions were done.
So about a quarter of the building is sprinkler.
That was what was done then. I have a, see if I have a drawing somewhere. I think it shows on the drawing, so let me pull those up real quick.
Yeah, it shows on here. Page 3.
So if you go to A201, there's a bunch of X's on the first floor plan that shows the areas of the building that are sprinklered.
The 98 edition is 68. Not sprinkled.
So the gray area in the center of the building is what we're adding, that creating that second floor space.
Understood.
If they didn't need this to be on the second floor and they put it on the first floor, we wouldn't need a variance, but they need the access to the line to be most efficient for the employees so they don't have to keep walking up and down stairs and they can overlook the process itself. And we are sprinklering these areas.
Unless I'm reading it. I said, it looks like most of it is sprinkled. I don't know why they wouldn't want to go ahead and sprinkle this. What's the big deal?
That's a lot of money to spend to sprinkler the rest of that for this second floor, 1,100 square foot office.
No, not the rest of it.
But this will all be sprinkled, right? And then
Yeah,
below-
the office we're adding and the changing rooms below they will add their sprinkling. We're just asking to not have to sprinkler the rest of the building.
I understand. Is there separation there between the rest of the building or no? Or, you know?
Rated? No.
Why does it say 24 break room renovation, not sprinkler?
That's existing. They're just doing a renovation of that space. They're not, it's like a facelift, nothing. The room's
All right.
existing.
Eighth floor.
All right.
So the new construction is the changing rooms on the first floor and the office on the second floor, correct?
Right.
Yeah, and they're in all the other stuff in gray is just renovations from previously existing spaces.
Correct.
All the new stuff is beach.
Yeah. How's their passive fire protection? Come on, it's US chips.
What's it? What's that?
I said, how's their passive fire protection?
Oh, passive. So I said pacifier.
That's what I thought he said too. I thought,
And this is, you know, a tall office warehouse space, so like most of those, if there is a fire, you know, you've got plenty of time for the smoke to accumulate at the ceiling before the conditions are untenable. And they are manufacturing gypsum board, and they have protected the areas where they had the combustible material stored as a part of the previous project. And this is a very small project relative to the overall size of the building.
Sprinkler in all this portion of the building. So you said sprinkler. The next time they have on, we'll make a sprinkler everything.
I'll second that if you want to put it. I'm comfortable with that.
But I mean, you know, even drywall dust, I mean, that's still. Dusted. It's flying around.
I think they're explosive.
All right.
Magnesium.
Corns.
But I don't think I can prove that, I just vote to approve since it's going to be sprinkler in this area. Maybe a renovation in the future, get the rest of the structure, I think, but get a variance for the rest of the structure. I don't have any invest, we'll stop that.
Yeah. Put it in motion, I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Cook?
The motion is to approve.
to approve.
Yeah, second, or, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no condition.
I don't think you can.
I don't think we can.
We just gotta remember, don't approve any expansions.
Yeah.
Motion to approve A and B, yes.
Motion to approve A and B, second, and I'll say yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Height?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Patterino?
Yes.
Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Zayner?
Yes.
Next up, we have 240239 Langles.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. We have 240239 Langles Pizza Sprinklers, Sherrville.
This variance deals with not wanting to maintain the existing sprinkler system. They're saying that the sprinkler system is no longer required. They are wanting to remove the sprinkler heads and place a sign stating the sprinkler system is not operational.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Phillips here representing NACH LLC and Langles Pizza. We're seeking a variance to discontinue the use of the sprinklers, not just because we want to, but this property is part of a strip mall. It used to be joined with the unit next door, where it was a bar and dance club. And at that time, there were sprinklers over the entire unit when it was one. It was later divided.
And there was a window in between where they would serve pizzas to the bar. There's a fire shutter blocking that window. And now the control panel for the sprinklers is on the other unit, which is still a bar. And the owner of that unit wants to prevent access to Langle's Pizza. They don't want them to be able to access the control panel and use the sprinklers anymore. This property is used, it's 1,314 square feet. It's used solely for delivery and carry out pizza. So it's a Group B occupancy, and it's our understanding that if it would not require sprinklers if it had just been built as that. But since they're already there, that they can't be removed without a variance. When Langle's Pizza became aware of this issue, they spoke with the local fire official who recommended that they apply for a variance for this. The estimated cost for the installation of a new system was $100,000. They purchased this building in 2018 for just $210,000, so almost half the cost of what they paid for the building. They didn't expect this cost. They didn't know that the other owner would want to cut off their access to the sprinklers. That would be a significant hardship for them. It's just a small pizza business. So we would propose removing the sprinkler heads and placing a sign on the sprinklers indicating that they are not operational. We also have 2 fire extinguishers and fire suppression system associated with the ovens and the fryers. And I also have Nick Hammond here with me for Langle's Pizza if you have any questions.
So, first question, delivery and carry out, no dining. Sorry? No dining in. Okay. Future plans?
Not to expand.
At this moment.
That's not, and no, never. We're not in the.
So you're not going to add a canopy later on, are you?
No. Unless I win the lottery, and maybe everybody wants canopy, but no.
Then it would be another hardship, so we're good.
So.
Is B the right?
Yes,
Your neighbor owns the other portion and you're bound by a wall there.
that is correct.
Everything is on that side of the wall. And you're not going to be allowed access to it.
Yes, so this building has been around for several years before, when I was young. And to what I've been told by a customer of mine who is one of the head fire chiefs up there, said that when the building was built, it was just a building and somebody purchased it was my unit and the unit next to me, one big bar. Well, then they wanted to make it into a dance club / nightclub. So then they had to come to the state, and the state told them that if you want to make it into a dance club, nightclub, you can do so, but you have to install sprinklers. So that's what they did. I can't talk about what happened after the fact, but then they just said, we're not doing it. They put up a wall. And then my unit G is what I own there. That has passed hands through several different owners. There's another pizza place in there prior to my uncle owning it, who was the owner before I purchased it from him. So, and that's where that separation began. The owner that owns the bar next to me is just not very helpful. He is trying to sell his location there. And the person that is trying to purchase this location says he doesn't want anything to do with anything other than what he has in the bar area. So, the sprinkler system is another thing. He doesn't want to have to be in charge of coming. Correct. And the current owner told us, which brought this to our attention, that he was frustrated with everything in life, which he sometimes gets, and then said he was going to just shut off our sprinklers, right? So which raised red flags to me, and that's how the ball started rolling with all of this.
I'll ask it up. So is it still a bar?
Yes.
Next door to you, so it's still a bar.
Yes.
They're still requiring the sprinkler system there, obviously. Their riser, I take it is in their area. The riser room is there in their area and their
Yes.
fire alarm control panel monitors, that's probably in that area too somewhere.
Yes.
And then do you know roughly like how many heads you have in your area? The piping obviously comes through. Was there always a wall there or that was all open?
It was all open at one point, and then when
the wall,
I believe when the nightclub fell through, right, or fell apart, not enough business, they decided to, try to make more money by renting out, sectioning it off and renting out my area. And I think I have 6 sprinkler heads, I believe is what it is, for my area. And that again was all.
You guys know it's against the law to tamper with your system because you have a system.
He does now. He does now.
Hopefully someone knows.
Right. Yeah.
It is against the law to tamper and affect your system.
Yeah. I don't.
Be in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, especially if you're a insurance company. I know.
Right.
Right. So you're like safety and stuff. I can't just shut the sprinkler system off either, so. The only thing you could have done is cap the piping off.
That's what he wants to do. That was, I think, he reacted quick. Yeah, and whether we cap it or whatever, the fire marshal says, we're all for. It doesn't matter. The fire marshal told us that, there's a few different options as far as, a new hydrant, which obviously we discussed the cost of that, or putting placards up for our customers to see that the sprinkler system is not operational on our side, or capping it off. We're up for, we're willing to do whatever it takes as long as it's not $100,000.
But he owns the road still?
No, sir. He rents his section. I own my unit.
Just the one.
My restaurant. We have a total of 3 restaurants in northern Indiana. This
Okay,
one is
this location.
This is the one in Sherwood, correct?
You guys own your portion of that structure,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So there's some kind of, since you guys have a party wall, there's some kind of agreement. I would take it or.
There should have been when we haven't been able to locate one.
Gotta be,
Yeah, you would think. You would think.
Yeah.
Well, if he decides to put a garage door in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's
I don't-
different property owners.
Yeah, different,
so-
yeah.
Shut their system down. I mean, I almost think that he needs to want to be here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I was looking to have his system.
Yeah.
But it's his system. It starts in his business.
We're calling them 2 different buildings along that wall, but it's not a firewall, right? It's just that.
Well, that's right. I was wondering if it's a firewall as well, if it goes from floor through the roof line. Because you said something about you had a window in there. And I don't know if it's just a window or if it's like,
So are you here only because he's threatening to cap it off?
Yes. Yes.
No,
Sorry.
so then, like,
I've got
go ahead.
more of a philosophical question that is really rooted in reality, but if we go to our GAR, and Ed should listen to this because I'm curious. You're being paid. Just listen. Like that. Yes, and State Commissioner, I might want your thoughts on this too. If we go to the GAR 1249, maintenance of buildings and structures, you've got a sprinkler system which is not required by your current use and occupancy. 1249 section D, and I'll read it even though everyone here can read, I know. Our section does not prohibit the removal of building structures or any part of the permanent heating, ventilating, air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, sanitary,
Emergency detection, emergency communication, or fire or explosion suppression systems or components thereof not required for the current use and occupancy by the rules of the commission or its predecessor agencies at the time of construction, installation, or alteration, including construction, alteration, or installation or alteration prior to the creation of the predecessor agencies. And this is something that I've often read and wondered, why do we require a variance to remove a non-required system?
Well, we're not. They can remove, so if it's a non-required system, the local fire company could say, hey, that system's no longer needed for your, it's in the code for your portion, you can remove that. Or if it's not there, they should, if it's not working, you have to remove it. You know what I mean? So it should be removed, but if someone else owns that system and it's coming into his place and it's protecting his business, I don't know how that works with an agreement.
I would need this.
Real estate agreement.
I'm the one that actually wrote an interpreter asking this because I've always read it that way. The guy that just retired after 50 years didn't agree with me until I challenged him a couple of times.
He's not
there.
You know what?
But he came to my side and actually Steve Jones, wherever he's at, he was the one that helped me get that. And the interpretation, I wrote it off the wrong section. But the building official, very last sentence, when he gave me the interpreter, he said, even though this section doesn't apply, it goes to the one you said. And when you look at the model codes, it is very clear that if whatever system, firewall, sprinklers, whatever, exit signs, if they're not required by today's code, they can be removed.
And I know we had a situation here in Indianapolis within the past month or two where somebody wanted to remove a system and the deputy fire marshal cited that section in the building code that says the building official can grant permission, and
Yeah.
we don't have a process.
The challenge, obviously, is just like the previous one and this one, was it required when it was put in? And is it still required for today? And those are the 5 or 6 questions that have to be filtered through in order to determine to come to that conclusion.
Yeah, so the issue would have been that it was required as a nightclub. Yeah, put it in, they installed it as a nightclub. Who knows when they put this wall on, separation wall, and if it's truly a separation wall, if it's a firewall, a fire barrier, or just a separation wall. But who knows? And then obviously once again, I don't know how your agreement was written. But that was included to say, hey, you're sprinkled and you're covered, and yeah, because we have strip malls all over the place that, you put a strip mall and it's like, hey, here's the riser in this, Dollar General, here's the riser. It encompasses these 6 other businesses within that strip mall. They have access to your riser because we have access to your riser because the sprinkler system is going to go off in the other buildings. We need to go get to it. And your fire protection company needs to get to it.
So circling back to the point you made, Mike, is I would agree that GAR says if it's not required in that space, you can remove it. But if it's adjacent to a space that's not separated by a firewall or fire barrier, can you remove it? I guess the question is it not required? Because I don't know if I'm there in their space.
We know if it's a firewall, fire barrier.
We don't know.
We don't know.
And in reality, it's unlikely to be.
Because it was all one space, they probably just put a wall. Is it drywall partition? I mean, do you know?
It's drywall.
So
The appraisal said Marlite panels handling. I don't know if that tells you anything.
probably not. Yeah. So because it's not a separate fire area, it's still required to be sprinkled, right? Am I misinterpreting that? No.
Yeah, in that sense. That's why I brought the question.
I mean, the whole strip mall would have to be,
No, I mean, if there was a firewall between your space and the bar space, I mean, I'm not one of the code consultants, but if there's a firewall between your space and their space, you're basically a separate building at that point, with a separate occupant.
Firewall makes you separate building.
buildings.
Yeah, but if it's not a fire,
Fire area, it's the space out, between firewalls or the exterior walls of the building.
but just having a wall that's not a firewall, you're still together. And so, I'm not so sure that we've convinced ourselves that it's not required in your space. And again, going back to the question is, the only reason you're here is because your neighbor who controls your sprinkler system is threatening to cap it off. That's illegal. They can't do that.
Yeah,
So,
and I also want, I won't get into the drama that we've had with this owner, especially as of late, but whatever I can do, so I don't have to necessarily deal with him, whether I'll pay to cap off my side if it's not required, whatever you guys suggest or whatever it may be. I'll abide by whatever you guys say and go through with it. But he doesn't want any of my employees to have access to anything on his side. So, which is why, again, that kind of goes into the whole, he can't just cap it off. We have to have access. Well, then that ruins his sale according to what he tells me, So again, if I don't have to then knock out, a wall or an area so we have access to this, or however that gets handled, whatever makes it easy, so I don't have to deal with it.
Do you know if the wall goes to the roof deck?
I believe that it does. I think though, that doesn't help you or really answer your question. Again, this was way before my time. My uncle owned this location. I purchased it from him. There was another pizza place that was in there prior to my uncle buying it from him several years ago. But when we were doing research for this, I believe my uncle said he thought it went all the way up, but nobody can confirm it because the whole building was built and then owners have changed hands so much. Try to go back to the original source to see what was done. Just was very difficult for me to kind of.
Let's get the answer right now. What we got in front of us?
well,
Not required in this case.
Yeah.
I don't know how they cap it off. Without looking at the registers, is it branch lines and each branch line comes through? You'd have to cap off six lines. I don't know.
If it's not required for their space right now, is there honestly a need for a variance? And
It would be if it's not a firewall between you and the restaurant.
The section in question would be 901.3 in the building code. It says no person shall remove or modify any fire protection system installed or maintained in accordance with the rules of the commission without notifying the servicing fire prior to receiving approval from a building official. So we're fighting the GAR version of maintenance and this code section.
And that was the section that we had come up here in Indy where the deputy fire marshal said, yeah, we don't care, but the building license is assigned. We don't actually have a position title. Building. So it's like, okay, at what level?
The fire marshal did come in after all of this started. And he looked at our side and the bar side, and he said, you should have no problem capping it. That can be done. That would probably be the cheapest route other than, installing new hydrants, so on and so forth. So if that means anything.
Did you get a letter from me, Cap?
Yeah, gave us his approval over email and said he would do anything to help. But then they didn't want to put anything in writing, so.
Oh. Because they have to cap it off on the other side of the wall for the cap.
They're the ones who recommended we do seek the variance and they're supportive of it.
He's not. Because that can't cap on his side.
Is it kick?
Well, the pipe doesn't go either. How you gonna, you
Well, and if he caps it, when they cap it, his side sprinklered as well, so now you choose a hydraulic pressure and line and the other issues.
Chairman.
Yes.
I was down the hall for a larger portion of this, but seeing some of this, viewing it from and then, and Mr. Paterino, you can kind of chime in here too. I really think the party, rather than relying on governmental entities for advice, needs to seek a design professional, a code consultant, a lawyer who can tell them what their risk is for certain options, and then they, as the individual owner, or renter, or tenant, can make a decision what is comfortable to them. And they may advise them to seek a variance or that they're compliant because the code is X, Y, or Z. I just don't want the commission to get bogged down into trying to give both legal and design advice when they need to see that.
Yeah, so that's my point. I don't think we can give advice on this because the piping goes through his wall, not his system though.
They need
to figure that out with an attorney. Of how to-
Exactly. There's facts that you guys don't know, and I think the attorney and the design professional can lay out the legal options and they can assess the risk that's tolerable to them, because I don't even think we're dealing with a full set of facts that we know here to even apply the law to. We're speculating. And I don't want to shut you guys off. I just want to keep the commission, on its path of what it does. And I think as proponents for this variance, I know it can solve your problems, but your problems may be non-existent. You might not need it, and a lawyer and a design professional may tell you.
So for what it's worth, I am a lawyer, but we did reach out to the local fire official and we reached out to IDHS asking, is a variance even necessary? And we were told yes. So that's why we're here. I just don't want to leave here and we're in the exact same position that we were before. Are you saying that it's the other owner who should be in here?
Well,
Or
again, Mr. Paterino, you might have causes of action against that other owner or his inability to give you access to his facility. So there's multiple veins here, both with fire and building safety law, causes of action against your co-tenant, co-owner. And I'm not saying this, I obviously work for IDHS. We might have told you a variance was necessary, but we don't have all the facts and what you're presenting to us. So we might be wrong because we don't know that there's something up in a crawl space somewhere that is a dispositive fact that says, oh, no, you don't actually need a variance because this is a firewall that extends all the way up. So without those facts, you're getting someone to give you advice that they're just kind of shooting from the hip and it's not binding. So I just don't want you to be misled.
I was gonna say, it has been sounding like a contractual issue to me. So, because I was gonna ask the very same question of who owns what? You own a portion of this? There's gotta be wider agreements. Like a condo agreement or something, because you're responsible for a portion of the building. Who owns the other site? If this other guy's leasing, it sounds like a big contractual issues to me first, before it becomes a variance. And we just can't go off and issue an approval or denial based on making it, I hate to say it, making it easy.
And the variance may be a solution looking for a problem that doesn't exist because of the contractual relationship that you have causes of action that stem from it. And I don't want them to paint broadly with the variance to solve a problem that maybe doesn't exist because of the contractual.
I'm eager just to see all the agreements right now.
Yeah, so the point, but to be fair, they have brought this variance as one of the options that they've evaluated to try to resolve this issue. And the reality is if it's not required in your space and you can get a design professional to look into that, then I don't think you need a variance. That's, so you've come to us asking for a variance for something that you may not need, because if it's not required in your space to have sprinklers, you can remove it for anywhere else.
Yeah, and it was the inspector that told us that we have to come and file for this variance. It was either that or we have to install our own fire hydrant outside.
But that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make, your inspector's wrong.
variance, if you don't need.
I think with the variance, what we're struggling with is we can't tell if it's required in your space or not right now based on your wall. Is that fair?
Yes.
And do you actually own unit G or you rent?
Yeah, because I'm struggling with this.
So you own that unit?
So if you decided you didn't want to own that anymore, you could tear down the front wall and the back wall and just leave an empty space in that strip.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
There's probably more to it than that.
You just want to sell pizza.
So I just want to sell pizza. That's all I want to do.
Like we've discussed, because you're just considered a B occupancy, a business occupancy, it's not required in there. So you could remove it, I just don't know, I can't tell you how to remove it because it's not your piping, you know what I mean, it's somebody else's
I'm
piping.
not worried about that. I can find somebody to do that. I just need somebody.
Your local official could say, that's not a requirement, but they need to know what the separation wall is between there, and then I think that, once again, you need to figure out your contractual agreement with them next door.
We don't have,
I don't know if it's your problem. It might be their problem. They're the ones who are gonna have to cap it. It's their system.
Right.
Because they're paying for the system. I don't know.
So what we do right now?
oh, I don't think,
I'm saying do where it's required. Figure that out.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
I don't know if I have enough information to say there's no variance required. Because again, like, if the space is not separated, how is it not required in the? Yeah, so I think we need to table it. You need to figure out if you can truly count your space as a separate building or not based on your wall. And if you can count it as a separate building, you don't need a variance, you don't need to come back, you can cap them off in coordination with your neighbor.
A contractor should be able to go up there, an architect could pop their head above those ceilings. I could go do it and just pop up there, and I could probably spend 30 minutes and determine whether that's a firewall or not a firewall. Should not be difficult to make that determination.
So a firewall is just.
Firewall, easier.
Right.
That's how I would interpret it.
So if it's not a firewall and we come back here in a month, are we gonna be talking about the same issues with the contract, or would that be a variance that would be eligible to be granted? And I don't want to waste time and be facing the same issues and discussion.
You'd be facing the same issues and we'd be up for either a denial because.
That issue that you can't modify his system either, because you're attached to it.
Yeah.
You can't modify his.
I mean, if it was their own system, you're like, yeah, take it out. You know, but it's not their system. That's what I'm saying. Contractually, it's not, I don't know how it's really. You go to a mall, like I said, you go to a strip mall, basically everybody's got their own heads. I mean,
Right.
There's been some places go, no, we want to put our own firewall system attached to this so that we get monitored. You know.
But you also usually aren't dealing with property lines
Yeah.
and individual units in the strip mall.
But if this thing's not, if there's no firewall there and the sprinkler system is required by code, then we would have to potentially deny it. And it would go back and become a contractual issue because they cannot just shut down your system. So ultimately, this is really, we could table it just to allow you, if in case you have to come back, you know, in case we need to deny, and then we deny, and then now you go back to them and say, hey, this was denied, it's required, you can't take the system down by law, right? By code. And so now you're in a legal issue to determine how to deal with that. I mean, it gets a little complicated, but it's probably, the tabling is probably the best thing to do.
He's on the early part of the list.
And you've already got legal counsel.
Okay.
Motion
I know that's really much.
table. Motion to table.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Chris?
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Patarino?
Yes.
Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zayner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're gonna take a quick 10-minute break. Sorry.
Could any of you tell me, could any of you tell me if you can hear me? Can you hear me? Guess we're
Yes.
muted. Okay,
Yes,
thank
Josh.
you. Thank you. I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Right?
Kickstart this.
All right, please have a seat, unless you're going up front. We're ready to move. Second. 240240.
All right, agree with this one. Recommend has to do with the roof slope not meeting the current code. E has the restore. E, the request to have a fire hydrant be approximately 550 feet away, or 400. C, the request to provide a fire apparatus road within 100 feet of all exterior walls. And last one is request not to allow an existing, to allow the existing asphalt road providing access to the building to be approximately 10 feet in width and a dead end of approximately 750 feet with no compliant turnaround.
Thank you.
Ed Renting, RTM Consultants. So this is a 4,800 square foot storage building for the Jefferson Clarksville flood control. They'll use it for storage of their equipment and maintain the levees and other associated properties in their district. So the first variances for your slope, they had attempted a zoning variance. They found out at the last minute that they were over a height for local zoning. That variance was denied by the town of Clarksville. So they re-engineered the roof trusses at a slope of less than the 3 and 12 required by code. So you've got a truss detail included. I do need to make one correction. Looking at this last night, looking more closely, it's actually a 1 to 1.33 slope in 12. So I said 1.3. I think they told me initially 1.33. When I looked at it more closely, it's 1.133 in 12. So you do have a truss diagram for that, showing the loading requirements and so forth with an engineer stamp. I'll do the other three together because they're sort of all one suit, but
Why so shallow?
Yeah. Because they had to lower it to meet their height requirements of the city for the town. The town denied their variance to have a greater height, so they had to chop their truss down.
Chop the walls down.
Well, they need the height to get their equipment in.
It's stored inside, so excavators and things like that side.
Yeah, they needed the height, the clear height in order to be able to get stuff.
Or do we want to talk about that one or just go through them all?
Talk about that.
Okay.
That's how.
So, why don't you just put some lap sealant in and then you can apply with the code?
I'm sorry?
If you put some lap sealant into the joints or use a standing seam roof, you can comply with the code with a metal roof.
With a metal roof on a wood truss.
According to the section you referenced.
I don't know the answer.
There are some other legal bill.
Why is there, I don't know the.
I don't know why the design professional chose what he did.
Yeah.
The code section, I'm Shirley Wakefield, Jacoby Timpson Lands. I did the plan review and Clarksville is my client. And in the review, I pointed out the section and the different things, why they chose to do, I don't know. I agree, they could have done some other things that possibly,
Well,
you
they-
could do the 1/2 inch.
They can do a 1/2 inch or an inch per foot. So a 1/2 inch, you're permitted to use, you can do a 1/2 inch per foot slope with non-soldered metal roof with applied lap sealant. That's the only difference.
That's the
You're
only
applying lap sealant at all the
Yeah,
lap.
but lap sealant.
Or you can do a standing seam roof and do a
2%.
inch
Into
per
2 to
foot.
12.
Is this?
Or 1/4, yeah.
I believe it is done now, yes. They went ahead and started because they needed to get their equipment in there.
I can't read the notes here.
And
Drawings.
instead of lowering the walls again, they decided to lower the.
Yeah, because,
or the-
yeah.
The
You
roof on
had
it.
a cap on the top and a cap on the bottom.
So.
We did lower,
The
I'm
town is
sorry.
not opposed, the town is not opposed to the variance. They understand the situation that the zoning made them lower the roof. They can't lower the walls, so they were not opposed to the variance.
To that variance?
To the seal, roof truss height.
Yeah, but I'm worried that, you know, a lot of the failure investigations are related to water.
Yeah.
And the reason you have a minimum slope on metal roof is because
My concern also was wind uplift on that slope, just, well, you're pretty flat, and I'm not sure wind uplift on one that's
I'm not worried about
where it
that.
sets in relationship to the floodplains and areas down there. It is to maintain the levees for the Ohio River and the Clark and Jefferson.
John Buckwalter with flood control.
John, did you want to make a comment?
I did. We did lower the walls. We did everything to stay within their height requirement. They were not, like I say, we weren't granted that variance. We did everything that we could possibly do. Within the budget we had for 2023, was a big thing, is that when we had trusses up, I mean, we made it through the construction design release. We got approval from their building commissioner. We made it through an inspection, and all of a sudden, when we went to the variance, some things had changed, and there was some opposition just generally because the building had taken away some green space. But honestly, right across the river from where we are now, they're getting ready to put in a really not huge park, and we need the square footage to, I have guys driving 5 miles one way on busy roads, going underneath overpasses and tractors because to even get to cut grass. So that's just, we've tried to comply every way we can, and I'm not really sure what the problem is. I'm sorry, that was long-winded, but thank you all for listening. I don't admire your job. You guys worked really hard today. That's all I have to say on that particular issue.
Thank you for all that. Thanks, John.
Your concerns, sir?
What's that?
Concerns?
It's gonna leak. So all you gotta do is put lap sealant at all the joints and you're good. And then you don't need a variance. Would they be
So
wanting to
you
do
wouldn't
that?
have to, that can be applied after the fact, you mean?
Is it already installed?
I'm not clear.
Is it already installed?
Yeah,
Oh, crap.
yeah, it's done.
You were wrong. Because he was trying to look at the set of plans and I've got,
I was just trying, it is a metal roof, but.
And you're sure they didn't put lap sealants in between?
John, do you know if by some chance they put lap sealant for those roof panels, the metal roof panels?
And I don't know, but when you're saying lap sealant, did they put adhesive?
Like, but when you have all the roof panels, they lap over each other, I assume?
Correct.
And at that joint, did they put a piece of butyl tape or something between the seams?
They did.
Okay, so you don't need a variance.
Oh.
All right.
we can verify that as well.
Because the
Yeah, I read it.
what's that?
I've read that. I
Okay.
agree.
Yeah, so you don't need a variance for that one.
If the lap sealant's there, they wouldn't need a variance.
No,
Well, we need to that no variance required for A.
I don't think we need a vote on it. You don't need a variance.
Well, we can withdraw it, or I think I'd prefer a no variance required ruling, if you don't mind.
As long as
it's installed properly.
But
As long as,
the problem is you can't do a no variance required and attach a condition to it. So we could just that one, I guess.
We could table
And
that.
verify.
That there is lap sealant in it, and if it is, then he could just go.
yeah, that's
Why
what
don't
we
we do that?
Would you be open to
Would you be
that?
willing to table that for us and then we'll.
Table A. First
Your second?
Second. Do we want to do them individually or just take them all at once?
Well, I think the other thing will be different, so.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Chris.
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Catarina,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zani.
Yes.
Variances B, C, and D deal with, first one is, the fire hydrant. Is approximately 550 feet if you measure to the very back of the building. It's instead of 400 feet. Variance B is the fire access road. Doesn't provide access to within 50 feet of all exterior walls of the building. It's pretty close, actually. I had made a markup on the overall plan, but I think I lost those markups when I uploaded it, unfortunately. But we are just over that amount. Depends on where you take the vehicle. If you take the vehicle right up to the, if you were to take an emergency vehicle right up on the asphalt, up to the building, I think you're just about there. So it's really close on that one. Variance D then is for the existing asphalt road is approximately 10 feet in width. And it's about 230 feet without a turnaround. You're supposed to have a turnaround every 150 feet. So there's some notes regarding that discussion with the local fire official that was uploaded to the variance. And my understanding is that he's not opposed, or at least hasn't expressed any opposition to those variances.
So we're not opposed to that B, C, and D, all three of them?
That's my
I
understanding.
spoke with Mitchell, and he said that the variants were more than transparent. They were very honest with the existing conditions that are there. He's not opposed. He's okay. That's like a really back fire truck, good, if it has to go down there, but he says they're not worried.
That being said, I would like to entertain a motion to approve B, C, and D.
Second.
Commissioner Cook,
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde,
Yes.
Chairman,
I would say no on the apparatus room or apparatus room.
so is that no one?
No. This is no on all three.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll go to approve.
Okay. Commissioner Catarina,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Who goes now?
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zani.
Yes.
All right, those are approved.
Thank you very much.
Who's that? Another?
I see this last station look into, that's got back there.
I'm doing here with it today, which will tomorrow night at midnight. Back out in the dark.
One.
All right, 240241, Mento.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, you hang on for 1 second, just waiting for IDHS.
This variance deals with infant and toddler child care, that has a single means of egress, going into the interior corridor. The code states that if you have infants, that are 2.5 years of age or less, and you have more than 5 kids at that age, you need an exit that directly to the exterior. If you have 10 more kids, you need at least 2 exits coming out of that room. The request is to only have one single means of egress to the interior corridor.
And think RTM Consultants. So this is another daycare on the north part of the state, recited by the State Fire Marshal's Office. This is one of those that has been under the, for some time, under the legally exempt rules, which exempts them from having to meet the FSSA daycare rules. However, they're not exempt from the commission's rules, which has been news to most of the school people that I've talked to. So we're grappling with that on several projects. In this case, they are planning to go for licensing for these 2 rooms. It's a toddler room and an infant room. We're requesting a single means of egress based on somewhat similar to some other ones that you've approved, where we are requesting based on an actual occupant load due to the licensing rules restrict the infant room to 8 kids and the toddler room to a maximum of 10. So we're asking for a single means of egress to the corridor. They have recently run a sprinkler line through this classroom wing and provided sprinkler protection. And these are the other so similar or adjacent classrooms, as well as the corridor that leads to the 2 exterior exits. So we're asking for the variance based on the actual occupant load per the FSSA rules, as well as the provision of sprinkler protection in those rooms and the corridor serving as a means of egress. There's also corridor smoke detection tied to the fire alarm system.
The sprinkler system was just added to just that area?
Yeah. Yeah, they had a sprinkler contractor available because they were doing some work at, I believe, the high school, and so they brought them in to do that area.
So on your elementary building maps, is it just ones that say pre-K on them? Is that?
If you go, it's a little confusing because I provided 2 different things. One is I called it the map, because it gave me the details on where the doors were. The other one, the floor plan, gives a better graphic for what's sprinklered. So if you look at the first colorized attachment, it shows that classroom wing is sprinklered.
Okay, yeah, I see here.
Yeah.
That Head Start.
Yes. I think this was originally a sort of an early learning, pre-K, K, that kind of thing. And then these 2 rooms have been converted to daycare.
Other room has no doors.
It's got a door. It's that's why I provided both plans, because it doesn't show, the colorized diagram doesn't show all the doors. But if you go to the other one, it does show it, although not very. Yeah, they were not able to get it. Sometimes we just can't get drawings. Then they've been old enough building, they didn't have any drawings available, so I had to take what I could get and try to make them as clear as I could.
Does the whole building have a fire system or just that area?
The whole building does, yeah. Yeah, with corridor smoke detection throughout.
Basically, you're asking just to have, and how many rooms does it affect?
Just two.
2 out of the 6, is that right?
Correct.
That's 2 out of 6. And in lieu of that, you guys have added the sprinkler system and the building fully flat.
Ed, can you point me to I'm trying to figure out the exact section that the code requires the 2 exits. I just want to reread it.
Let's see. It's in 2 different places. I think, that 2 exit requirement, yeah, it's in, there's table 1015.1, which tells you that that if it's a maximum of 10, you can have up to 10 occupants with a single means of egress. So I think it says something like spaces with a single means of egress. And then the occupant load factor would be in table 1004.122, where it says you know, 35 square feet in daycare use.
Okay.
Just the classrooms are 20, daycare is 35, but then the threshold for 2 ways out is once you get over 10 kids.
Okay. Daycare is 35.
I believe that's right.
Yep. Then
And you look at it,